Hi, my name is Eric Elliott. I'm the author of Programming JavaScript Applications and also the author of Learn JavaScript with Eric Elliott. That's at ericelliottjs.com, Elliott with 2 T's. And today we're coming to you with something very special, very new. We're going to give it a try and see how we like it, see how you like it. The idea is the JavaScript questions show. So the way that it works is that you tweet at JS Cheerleader and say hi, JS Cheerleader.
Hey.
And you tweet at JS_cheerleader on Twitter with the hashtag JS questions. And then we'll answer them on this show. So let's jump right into it. Question number 1.
Okay, you tweeted this. Computer screens will be obsolete within 10 years. AR, VR platforms will replace them. Unity is the biggest threat to JS. The question is, why is AR and VR the biggest threat to JavaScript?
That's a fun question. So when I tweeted that, there was a lot of controversy on Twitter. A lot of people didn't really know what I was talking about or where I was coming from. So let me break it down for you. If you have ever seen augmented reality, a really good demo of augmented reality, there's no question left in your mind. This absolutely is the future. So you might have heard of VR, all the VR hype that's going crazy right now, and they've got these ugly big goggles that you have to wear. Well, that stuff is all miniaturizing. It's all going to get smaller. You're going to start to see glasses like this, more like Google Glass size in several years, like 3 to 5 years. You might see a little bit of shrinking in that department, and things are going to be a lot better. Within 10 years, you'll see like glasses like this or contact lenses. At least within 20 years, you'll have contact lenses.
And we've been able to also light up very basic text on the contact lens that's still out of focus. So focus is another issue that we're addressing.
Something like that. Anyway, augmented reality is really different from virtual reality in that when you're wearing the virtual reality goggles, you can't see the stuff around you in the real world. So it's a completely immersive virtual environment, which is great. For example, you can attend a concert right now with a $30 Google Cardboard that you can order on Amazon. You can attend Coachella, and it's like being there. And they've got cameras like from stage positions and really good like front row seat kind of stuff. So there's absolutely virtual reality there's going to be really cool applications. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in that space. VR games obviously going to be huge. But augmented reality is really where it's going to be at. So what is augmented reality? It's where the real world is still visible, but you're still getting like 3D projections of virtual stuff mixed into that real world. So, for example, Microsoft calls it mixed reality, where you've got virtual components and real stuff. It's all mixing together. And there's some really great demos from HoloLens, Microsoft's HoloLens team. There's some really great demos that you need to check out from Meta, who is another big player in this space. Now, just to give you an idea, these augmented reality developer kits are shipping this year. Some are shipping this month, like the end of this month. So developers like you will be able to get an augmented reality set from Microsoft or from Meta or from one of their competitors and start building software for augmented reality. And initially, it's going to be like a lot of hype and kind of disappointing because you're not going to walk around with these big clunky goggles 24/7. But like 5 years down the road, when things are a little bit smaller and you're starting to see like screens, like there are already demos of screen projections on contact lenses that exist today. So definitely within the next 5, 10, 20 years, It's going to be a major, this is just going to be how we experience life. We're not going to have cell phones. We're not going to have computer screens. It's all going to be in this 3D environment, and it's going to be gesture controlled. So you'll actually reach out and play with the virtual stuff, just like you're moving around real objects. And it's absolutely going to be the future. Now, why is this a threat to JavaScript? I'll tell you why. Right now, there are several proprietary platforms that are several years ahead of JavaScript in this stuff. When it comes to 3D, when it comes to virtual reality, when it comes to augmented reality, JavaScript is just starting to dip its toes into those waters. But C, C++, and C#, there have been developer kits around for several years that have been messing with this stuff. We've been seeing demos for a long time, even with cell phones from today, of augmented reality. And right now, it's just not accessible for JavaScript. And there's a ton of catching up to do if we're going to be participants in this new medium, if we're going to be like really important in this new medium for with JavaScript, right? Otherwise, you should probably start learning C++ or C# because this is absolutely the future, and it's really, really important stuff.
We take over the UFO, my camera changes, and my controls become different. So now I can fly this little guy around, and I can abduct these little toy cows that you see, and eject them into their little pen. Now, this UFO is also created with the Blueprint system, so I'm going to show that off real quick. Let's actually jump out of the game for just a moment. I'm going to hit eject. Now, the game continues playing, it's just I'm not controlling anything. So I can select our little UFO, and we can open up its Blueprint graph, and here's everything that is going on with just that UFO.
And JavaScript just isn't there yet. There are some really great efforts being made. Mr. Doob has 3JS. You should definitely check that out. There's the I don't want to discredit the work that's being done in JavaScript and in the web platform standards to make this stuff possible in JavaScript. I'm just saying that right now it's light years behind, and we need to do a lot of catching up. So that's why it's the biggest threat to JavaScript, because pretty soon we're not going to be building 2D user interfaces in web browsers anymore.
Let's show you what a small team can accomplish with it. So this was a little project put together by just a few of our artists in their spare time. Now here we are in the editor. I'm actually going to hit play and leave this in the editor.
Do you think CycleJS solves React inconsistencies?
Does CycleJS solve React inconsistencies? Yes, absolutely it does. There's a lot about React that's a little bit odd. Despite the name, it's not really as reactive as it could be. People who are familiar with observables and RxJS and stuff like that might come to React and wonder what all the hype is about, why it's called React in the first place. CycleJS actually integrates RxJS, and it basically glues that together with a virtual DOM, and that's basically all it is. and it's really, really cool. It does that really well. I'm really excited about it. I've checked it out. I've played with it a little bit. I'm still betting on React though. And the reason is that React has a lot of participation, not just from big companies, but from all kinds of small companies scattered all over the place. And the ecosystem is gigantic. React has really taken off like a rocket ship. And I just want to be part of that excitement. Now, that doesn't mean that React is the right thing for everybody, but for example, if you want to use React Native, maybe you should use React instead of Cycle.js. But there's still a lot of stuff that you can do with both. For example, if you want to play around with Redux, you can totally integrate Redux with Cycle.js, no problem. So you can still use Cycle.js and benefit from some of the community excitement that comes with React, but I'm still betting on React long term.
Why is there such a negative attitude towards ES6 classes?
Dropping the bomb on me, huh? Okay, very first episode. So as a lot of you probably already know if you follow my work, I'm not a big fan of the ES6 class keyword. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Chief among them, I think that classical inheritance is just a bad idea. And the reason for that is that if you get into classical inheritance, you can really create a big mess really fast. There are several well-known object-oriented design problems that kind of go hand in hand with classical inheritance. Once you start inheriting more than 1 or 2 levels deep, you start to run into things like the gorilla banana problem, the tight coupling problem, the duplication by necessity problem. There's just all kinds of really well-known, really well-researched problems in the OO design sphere that impacts classical inheritance, but it does not impact other kinds of code reuse like modules, like object composition, like mix-ins, object.assign, and so on. So I just don't think that classical inheritance is a good idea. And the class keyword comes with this extends keyword that is just like this invitation to make a big mess and get yourself stuck. So that's number one. That's why I think that you should avoid it. Number two is that it ties you to, when you use the new keyword with class, and you have to use the new keyword with class because there's no other way to do it. It'll throw an error if you try to leave the new keyword off. When you do that, it ties you to the class implementation or the constructor implementation of that object, because switching from using new to not using new is a breaking change. It breaks things like instance of, if you're using instance of, or if any of your callers are using instance of, like if you've got a library or something, and you don't have control over those call sites, right? You don't have control over those call sites, so you can't just refactor and fix everything. It introduces a breaking change. So those are the two main things that I dislike about classes. Now, if you still want to use classes, go ahead and use it. It's no skin off my nose. But I don't think that you should be exporting classes for other people to use. Instead, wrap that into a factory function and export the factory function, and then nobody will extend your class and everything's safe and all is well with the world. So that's why, and I think that wraps up this first episode. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you want your questions answered, to tweet them at JS_cheerleader on Twitter using the hashtag JSQuestions. Thanks a lot.